what you got. Oh, I can't see tomorrow. Gotta live, try to get a little wiggle room, the rest don't stop. Quid pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Tryna make a dollar, flip it like it's vinyl. Tryna make a way. What's it worth to you if the price too high? Quid pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Give me your best. Don't tell me nothing less, cause I'm giving you 100. How you always leaving me with nothing? I'm not impressed. It's gonna take more than this, cause I'm giving you 100. And I don't even know if I can trust you for nothing.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. There he is. He found a way back, so we're okay. We're good. We were talking just a little bit, and our special guest is in Puerto Rico today, and his internet went kaput. So he's back. We got him in the old green room. He's over there enjoying a biscuit and some donuts and some coffee down our green room. So it's all good. I'm just teasing. We really don't have a green room. What's up, guys? Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody is good. Good morning, Vanessa. Good morning, Anne Marie. Good morning, Cynthia and Caitlin and Lynn. Good morning, Jessica. I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to put this is not our special guest. She is special, but she's not a guest. So, baby, you're up. You want to say something?
Hi.
So she's jumping in to say hello. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. I said, got everybody now? All right. Well, cool. Well, we have got an awesome special guest. I'm super excited. I'm going to try not to fanboy today like I did the last time we had a special guest, because the last time we had a special guest, I kind of fanboyed a little bit. So I'm going to try not to do that this time. But it's okay. I get excited when we have people of this caliber come and join you guys, and we get to expose you to people like this. Good morning, Kristen. So I'm hoping you guys are ready to rock and roll and hear a word today, because it's going to be something special. The way it always works, y'all. This is the way that always works. We've been going through the past couple, 2 or 3 weeks, about the 32 successful things people do. Successful people do 32 things, according to Grant Cardone, according to the 10X rule. And we've been going through these 32 things one day by one day by one day, just every single day another one. Well, today, because I missed yesterday, obviously, sorry about that. I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on with my alarm clock in the mornings, but I am not enjoying waking up at 3:45. And apparently I tell Siri or Alexa, whoever she is, to stop with my alarm, and I don't get up and I don't even know about it. So I apologize for that. I'm working on it. But I digress. So we missed yesterday. Today, I think this is number 29 or 30. This is number 30 out of 32. So we're almost at the end. Happens to be uncomfortable. Successful people, they learn to be uncomfortable. And it just so happens that that our special guest, has got an intimate knowledge of being uncomfortable, and an intimate knowledge of doing things to challenge your comfort levels, most assuredly. So I'm super excited. So let's get started. I don't want to waste any more time. What were you going to say, babe? I thought you were going to say something. So let's get started. My name is Aaron Dwyer. As you can see, my lovely bride's headshot there. My wife, Christy Dwyer, and I started a company called Exit Realty Lake Country. And we really felt like that we could start a real estate company that helped agents improve and helped individuals improve to be the best versions of themselves. And by helping them improve to be the best versions of themselves, they'd be better real estate agents. And so we truly believe we can change this industry one agent at a time. So in that vein, we decided we wanted every single morning, 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, what started off as just a check-in call, just dropping a little bit of hellos with our agents to stay connected, because everybody's running and gunning all the time, turned into us spending 45 minutes to an hour with our agents, giving them some motivation, some life, some word to help them get their mornings off to a great start, because we know if we get our morning off to a good start, we got a really good chance of making our days go really, really well. And guys, if we can string enough really good days together, or really, if we have the ability to string enough successful days together, we can make a pretty banging life. So that's our point. That's our goal. That's what we do every single day. And I'm excited. Good morning, Teal. Good morning, Facebook users. Y'all know the drill, man. If you're here with us this morning and you're up with us and you're going to put your name in the comments and say good morning, you're going to have a time to get a chance to meet Sean. You're going to get a chance to have a conversation with Sean. But man, without further ado, I'm gonna take my bride off, and let me do this. So most of you may have seen this. Some of you may not have seen this. For those of you who watch this later, let me show this real quick. So y'all check this out. This is who we're going to talk to today. To this.
As a 13-year-old, the doctors gave me 3 months to live.
He had just lost everything and he had lost his hope.
Going in for a checkup for the first cancer, they found a second cancer. The doctors gave me 14 days to live.
He said, "Mom, if I don't make it, I've had a good life." And I said to Sean, I said, "You're going to make it." Didn't want to lose my little baby.
The cancer could take my body, but it could never touch my mind. I'm cured of cancer, but I'm not done fighting it. And I'm going to continue fighting it just to give people hope and let them see what's possible. Well, I've completed the highest mountain on every continent, which is the 7 summits, and I've trekked to the bottom of the Earth, the South Pole. I only have the North Pole left.
Two polar bears sniffing around. One of the team has seen the prints, and 2 of the bears approached one of the camps.
Sun doesn't really do a good job of warming anything up. The only time this usually works is when it's about minus 40.
There's 5 of us on this expedition. There was originally 6, and unfortunately, one person's had to be evacuated. But it's a relentless place, the frozen ocean. Absolutely relentless. Takes no prisoners.
No cancer survivor's ever done the Adventure Grand Slam before. It's something that needs to be done, proving that you can go to literally the ends of the earth to give people hope.
There he is. There he is, Sean Swarner. I like it, man. Good morning. Good morning. Man, who else is better to talk about being uncomfortable? So I'm going to turn the stage over to you, man. I'm going to mute my mic. Do your thing. Everybody, welcome Sean Swarner to the call. Sean, thanks for doing this with us, man.
Absolutely. Can you hear me just fine? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's a little. So Sean's, yeah, it's coming in and out. Just keep on rocking, man. We're gonna hold our, we're gonna pray that it all works, and we're gonna get good attention to it. So we're just gonna rock and roll. Go ahead.
All right. I will try to do this quickly so we can get to the Q&A and have an open conversation with everyone, because I am in Puerto Rico. I wasn't supposed to be here. And before I tell you why I wasn't supposed to be here, I will say that everything is fine now. She's doing okay. We received a lot of prayers from family and friends, but my wife is from Puerto Rico, and her grandma had a slip and fall. She fell, she broke her nose, she went into convulsions, and she was in the hospital. So we took a red eye down. But she got another CAT scan last night. We're getting the results today. So if I sound a little scratchy and tired, I am exhausted. I went on about 2 hours of sleep last night, but she is doing well. That's why I prefaced it before I told you what's going on. So thank you. So like I said, I will try to make it as quick as possible because I don't know when we're going to have connection, when we might lose the connection. No idea what's going to happen down here. But that's also a good segue into understanding and knowing that oftentimes you just don't have control of the situation. You know, but you always have control in how you react to it. And with that in mind, I will let you know that I am actually the only person in history to ever climb Mount Everest. I've climbed the highest mountain on every continent. I've skied to both the North and South Poles, and I've completed the World Championship Ironman triathlon in Hawaii. Now, I've done all that after surviving 2 terminal cancers, a prognosis of 3 months to live, a prognosis of 14 days to live. I was red blood strikes. I was in a medically induced coma for a year of my life, and I only have 1 lung. So I've also learned how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'll back up. When I was 13, that's when my whole story began. I guess it started 13, 14 years before that when my mom and dad got together. But we'll skip over that part. We don't need to hear about that. 9 months later, done. 13 years old, I suffered a knee injury. Knee injury stuck me in the hospital, ballooned my body up beyond recognition. Eventually, I was diagnosed with advanced stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I remember being 60, 70 pounds overweight, bald from head to toe, in the shower, on my hands and knees, sobbing, just absolutely weeping because my hair was falling out. I was losing my friends. I was losing my hair. I was losing everything. My life was on pause. And it forced me to look at life a little bit differently than most people. My friends were probably waking up the same morning, getting ready for school, focused on being popular, focused on the nicest hairstyles, clothes, collecting baseball cards, and worrying about, in my mind, petty trivial things. It just didn't matter to me at all. Because imagine you're going to bed night after night after night after night, literally not knowing, being terrified to close your eyes because you have no idea if your eyes are going to open the next morning or not. So this becomes your MO from 13 to essentially 18, 19 years old. So throughout my entire developmental years of my life, I was living in a state of uncertainty. I had no idea what was going on. But I like I said, when I first started, I have no control over the internet here. I have no control over events around the world, but I can always control how I react to them. So when I was going through the first treatment, the set of treatment for the first cancer, I remember being focused on surviving as opposed to not focusing on not dying. And I think there's a really good reflection in that, a good message in there. Because going back to that young man who I mentioned, who's 13, 14 years old, on his hands and knees, 60 pounds overweight, pulling chunks of hair out of the drain, stopping his eyeballs out. I wasn't focused on not dying. I was focused on living. Because wherever your attention is in life is where you're going to go. And people who have been in the wintertime driving on black ice start sliding, and you're constantly telling yourself, don't hit the telephone pole, don't hit the telephone pole. And you're going to smack on the telephone pole. A perfect example is, let's say you're walking down the street and you're telling yourself, don't trip. You're going to fall on your face. But if you turn it around and tell yourself, stand tall, walk strong. Wherever your attention is, whatever's going through your mind over and over again, because human beings are creatures of habit, whatever we tell ourselves day in, day out is what comes out of the brain and becomes our reality. So when I was going through the first cancer, I constantly told myself I was focused on living. In fact, I'm a huge believer in the mind-body connection. I visualized myself killing the cancer from the inside, but also completing the 50-meter breaststroke. I was a swimmer. I loved swimming. Speaking of being uncomfortable, getting up and being in the water at 6 a.m. in the morning, 2 hours a day, and then in college, 3 hours in the afternoon. But to skip ahead to the second cancer. Like one wasn't enough. I was going in for a checkup for the first one. They found a second cancer. They diagnosed it with a type of illness that affects 3 out of a million people with a prognosis of roughly 6%. And that 6%, if you have 100 people with this type of cancer, which is called Askin sarcoma, 94 die. And apparently, I'm the only person who's ever had Hodgkin's and Askin sarcoma. And literally, the chances of me surviving both of those illnesses is equivalent to winning the lottery 4 times in a row with the same numbers. You're literally looking at a living, breathing, walking miracle. And in one day, they found a tumor on an X-ray. They did a needle biopsy. They they removed another lymph node. They put in a hepatic catheter. They cracked open my ribs, removed the tumor, put a drainage tube in, and started in less than 24 hours. And this time around, they told my parents that your firstborn son now has an expiration date of roughly 14 days. So the doctors literally told my parents that your son is going to be dead in 2 weeks. And no one wants to hear something like that. But again, it all boiled down to how I wanted to deal with the situation and how my perspective was looking at what was going on. I kind of joking. I remember when the hospital came in, they wanted me to write out a living will. And it was funny because I have a young brother who's 3 years younger than I am. And they wanted me to write out a will. What do I have? I looked at my mom and my dad. I'm like, well, isn't Seth going to get my hand-me-downs anyhow? Like, what does the hospital want? Who knows what they wanted from a at this time 17-year-old. Went through another year and a half of chemotherapy, radiation therapy, lost the function of my right lung. And because the treatments were so harsh this time around, the doctors put me in a medically induced coma. I don't even remember being 16 years old. So looking back at those sections of my life, it was very intense. But everything that we go through in our past, even the seemingly mundane decisions we make every day, because we pretty much do those every day of our lives, they develop us who we are today. So every decision that we've made in the past brought us to this exact moment right now. And if I had a different attitude, if the stars didn't align, if one prayer was missing, it doesn't matter. I would be dead. But going through everything I did, when I did, I developed this understanding that not necessarily do we have to go through difficult times and be uncomfortable, because it is our choice on not necessarily pain, but how we suffer going through these events in our lives. And because pain, obviously, there's a threshold. And when I was getting my bone marrow test, I can still remember being 13, laying on my belly in the hospital bed, and the needles going back through basically my hip bone, just above my butt muscles, and I can still feel the needle dragging the nerve endings as it's going through to aspirate part of the marrow. And that's pain. That hurts. But it's our choice on if we want to suffer or not. And going through the cancers, I wasn't suffering because I was focused on what I wanted after I was out of the treatments. And like I said, I don't know how long I'm going to have for the internet, so I'm going to jump forward through college, through everything else. And I voluntarily put myself back into being uncomfortable because I don't know too many people who go to Travelocity.com and put in Everest, summit of Everest as a vacation destination, or the North Pole as a vacation destination. You can't hop on United Flight 777 to the South Pole. So I put myself voluntarily in these uncomfortable situations, maybe for a few reasons. One, I want to prove to myself that I'm still alive. Who knows? Another one could be that I'm doing it for a deeper purpose. And I think the second one, the latter, is the real reason. I have found a deeper purpose for what I'm doing. And when you have a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning, a deeper passion, bit more passion for what you're doing, you can survive pretty much anything. When you're going up against the mountain, you realize that what's within you is bigger than what's in your way. So once I was told that it was impossible to climb Everest with one lung, that just added fuel to the fire, because I wanted to be the first cancer survivor to climb the highest mountain on Earth. And when I did make it to the top, I had a flag that was about that big. And I had names of people touched by cancer. And it was always folded up in my chest pocket as a reminder of why I was on the mountain. And it was always close to my heart. So that's what kept me going. That's what pushed me forward. And there were moments on the mountain where we dodged avalanches. It was 40, 50 below, hurricane force winds. There was a time up at Camp 2, roughly 20,000 feet, where I was in my tent for 2 days and 2 nights. The storm was just whipping around. It's hurricane force winds. I had a friend who went up to Camp 3 on the side of what's called the Lhotse ice face, which is a sheet of 45-degree angle bulletproof blue ice. And the altitude got to him. He was delirious on his way down because he spent two days and 2 nights up in a tent on the side of this ice face. Delirious because he had no food, no water. On his way down, misclipped on a guide rope, and he tumbled over 3,000 feet into a crevasse. And I remember looking back up at the sheet of ice, and it was no longer the color of blue ice and white. It was actually spotted in red where he landed because of his blood. And I remember looking back up there and seeing where he slid down and into the crevasse. And when something like that happens, you lose a friend in the mountains, you lose a friend on the route. The same path you're taking, going for the same goal that he had, a lot of doubt crosses your mind. A lot of people have passed away on Everest. A lot of people have tumbled down the mountain, and a lot of bodies have never been found. And it really makes you wonder why that person died and why I wouldn't. Going up there, I remember going past 2 or 3 bodies going up the summit push, and you just see these people face down, and you see their plastic boots, which, as we know, plastic really never disappears. So we saw these plastic boots, and a lot of doubt starts creeping in your mind. But going back to that young 13-year-old, I realized that I didn't want to focus on not falling. I didn't want to focus on not failing. I wanted to focus on the summit, because when that negativity creeps into your mind, it sits and rots and festers. Now, granted, some of those people in the mountain did die probably because of avalanches and exhaustion, and they had the right attitude. I'm not saying that's the only thing that keeps you going, but it definitely helps. It puts you in a different mindset to actually handle being uncomfortable, because you do develop a different perspective. So when I did reach the summit of Everest, I became the first cancer survivor to make it. A beautiful day. It was a slight breeze. The sun was out. Normally, you take a picture and you run back down the mountain with your tail between your legs because you want to get off. But we were up there for about 40 minutes. It was beautiful. And also, when you do get to the summit, you realize that climbing is a round-trip sport. I'm working with a company called Transamerica, a retirement bank, and they're starting to use a very similar message, because people are thinking, oh, I want to save money for retirement. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. You have to get back down. Once you get to where you're going, you have to realize it's not about the finish line. It's not about the summit. It's not about the new car. It's never about the physical stuff. But if you can attach an underlying meaning behind it, you find that passion, you find that purpose, and you find that deeper meaning to keep you going through those uncomfortable situations, because that's quote unquote suffering that you put yourself through is worth every bit of it. After doing the highest mountain on Earth, my next step was to, I'm thinking, logically, there's 6 other continents, but most people logically, who's going to go put themselves in a situation like that where you're uncomfortable? And I don't know how many people have ever gone a month and a half without showering before, but that's pretty uncomfortable too. Highest mountain on every continent, took a flag up to the summit of each one. After that, then I decided, okay, let's do this thing called the Explorer's Grand Slam, which is adding in the North and South Poles. But I think, Aaron, I told you this before, I think it sounds like a Denny's breakfast platter. I didn't name it, but it's to explore the Grand Slam. I was going to get to this North Pole. There's going to be a set of hash browns, bacon, and eggs waiting for me or something. Then in the interim, I decided, all right, there was one time when I was laying in the hospital bed looking at the hospital TV and seeing a guy named Mike Pig cross the finish line doing the Hawaii Ironman. And I was like, if I ever get better, I'm going to do that. So then I decided, all right, let's do the Hawaii Ironman, which is the World Championship Ironman distance triathlon, roughly 2.5 mile ocean swim, 112-mile bike ride, and you finish with a marathon. So I've been very fortunate in my life. I put myself in these situations because I like testing my mettle. I like pushing myself and pushing the envelope, but there's always a deeper underlying purpose behind it. And you can be uncomfortable, yes, but you also understand that it's your choice on how uncomfortable you want to be. I think that helps build resilience. I think it helps put things in perspective. And when you put yourselves in uncomfortable situations, you realize you truly can handle anything that comes your way. But like I said, coming in here at the beginning, I might lose the internet connection. I have no control over that, but I always have control over how I react to situations. When things happen to me, I can react to them, and it's always my choice. So I hope the internet connection stayed there. I'll open up for Q&A. I'll do whatever I can to help out while I can and enjoy every moment of it.
Well, Sean, there's so much in that, and y'all, I hope you were taking notes, and I hope you're writing some of these nuggets down because I'm hoping Christy's taking notes as well because she's a really good note taker. But there's so many nuggets in this, Sean, and first off, I just want to say thank you for doing this. Thank you for getting up with us and doing this in spite of only having a couple hours sleep and having your schedule thrown around. Again, another prime example of best laid plans. When you have a plan to do something that it seems like something else gets in the way or something else is trying to throw you off track. So there's a word in this for you guys, and I want you. So we're going to kind of open this up for questions. So I want you guys in the chat. If you have any questions to ask Sean, go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll put them up here, and we'll just go as long as we can go until his internet jumps out. But there are a couple of things, Sean, and the first question, I just wrote this down. Who thinks like this? I mean, literally, who thinks like? What was the decision process in your mind as you're sitting there deciding like for us, we just got through. Some of us just got through 75 hard. Some of us, we try to make a decision at the beginning of the year to go lose some weight or to stop smoking, or I'm going to stop driving to work that way, or I'm going to do something else different out of my routine. Who in the hell thinks, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. What was that decision process like? What was the catalyst for that? I mean, obviously the story, but you could have done 1,000 other things other than go climb Mount Everest.
That's a great question. And when you were talking, I was thinking, not everyone's going to climb Everest, but everyone does have an Everest to climb. Right.
Wow.
So looking at what you just did, the 75 hard, that could be someone's Everest. Someone's Everest could be finding the motivation to get off the couch and walk around the block. My first goal was to literally crawl 8 feet from the hospital bed to the bathroom. So it was one step after another. But I could flip it back and ask you and everybody else, why did you do the 75 hard? What was the meaning behind it? What was the reason behind it? Was it just because, I wanted to do something tough? I wanted to challenge myself. I'm assuming for those who made it, there's a deeper underlying meaning behind it. So for me, going up Everest and doing these things, initially I did some research and I thought, well, maybe I could run across the country, New York to LA or something. And to be honest with you, I was like, well, God, it sounds like a lot of work. That's a lot of running. I don't want to do that. But I kept thinking bigger and bigger and bigger, and I thought, well, no cancer survivor has ever climbed Everest before. Why not me, and why not do it for the right reasons? And use it for a platform to give other people hope. So that's the underlying reason behind doing Everest. But with anything, if you have a bigger purpose, utilizing, and we've discussed a little bit, utilizing your personal core core values, knowing what's most meaningful to you. You start
Right.
making decisions based on what you value, as opposed to
Yep.
what potentially someone else values for you.
So I want y'all to hear something in that what he just said. He thought about it and he thought about what he could do. It started off with one thought, and then the thought kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what Sean didn't do, if I heard you correctly, is he just didn't limit what he was thinking. And we talk about this all the time when we talk about going after dreams or going after desires or going after that something that's your North Pole or it's your Mount Everest, it's your summit, it's that thing. We're only limited by what we allow ourselves to believe is possible. And the thing he just said was it started here and then it grew to this. And he just didn't stop himself from believing those things were possible. If I'm hearing that correctly. So I want y'all to, that's a nugget for y'all to take. So Sean, we have two questions. So Teal McKinney, she's down in Northeast Georgia. Teal asked, do you have a morning routine?
I do. This morning, no. Normally, yes. Normally, my routine is I wake up, and the very first thing I do when I open my eyes, I tell myself that yesterday's gone, the past is gone. There's nothing I can do about it. Tomorrow may never come. So no matter what happens today, today's the best day ever. And it's my choice to make it that way. So the instant my eyes open, today's the best day ever. Boom. And I have that mindset right from the get-go. And then as I go through the day, one of the things I do is I grab, well, the first thing I do after I do that is I grab my journal. I don't know if you can see this, but there.
Yep, we got you.
Yep, I grab my journal and I write down my morning and evening bookend throughout the day. So when I wake up, I write down my morning bookend, some affirmations, and then I write down 3 things I will try to do. But I actually scratched out try to. So I write down 3 things I will do, and then 3 things I will learn to do, or 3 things I'll learn, and then I write my evening bookend later. But that's here at home. It's very similar. I'll wake up, I'll do that. I'll instantly drink some water while I'm filling this out with what is that? Apple cider vinegar with mother. Tastes awful, but it's healthy. I know it's supposed to be good for it. Then we do yoga. My wife and I do yoga, and then we do work. So it depends on where we are. But the biggest thing that I do is I wake up with a positive mindset and I get my day going.
Yeah, and so it's amazing how waking up takes on a different intensity when you had the threat of not waking up. When it's amazing how every day opening your eyes becomes a big deal when it's possibly going to be taken away from you. So again, there's a nugget in that. There's something that you guys can take from that and don't take for granted the fact that you are able to open up your eyes and look at every day like this is the best day ever. I love that, man. I think I would love to paint that on the ceiling right above my bed. This is the best day ever. So as soon as I open my eyes, I see that. Anne Marie Pettit. Anne Marie's also in Georgia. And Anne Marie is asked a question. She said, do you have a life mentor? Do you have a mentor?
I do not. I don't have someone specifically as a mentor or say a life coach. I have a handful of close friends, confidants, who help guide me. I have some, 2 or 3 folks who are in business who really help me with those situations because I don't have the best business background because of how everything has happened in my life. And it's kind of to sum that up, normally you go to high school, you go to college, graduate college, get a job, you work your way up the food chain, you get married, you have kids, you save, you go to retirement, then you go on adventures. I kind of did the opposite of that. I went on all these adventures. I did, got married just 4 years ago. No kids in our future. It's not going to happen. But kind of things have kind of flip-flopped. So I didn't have my 20s and early to late 30s to work on that business aspect. So now I have business coaches and business-minded individuals helping me out. A life coach, I do watch a lot of things online. I have a big life coach with this guy upstairs. He and I have connected a lot, and we're pretty close. Because everything I've been through just strengthened my faith. My mom, my dad, and you know what? I take that back. in a roundabout way, now I'm talking it out. My grandma turned 100 in October. I would say she's my life coach.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hats off to Grandma for making it to 100, and obviously some of her strength and her resilience rubbed off on her grandson. Any questions that y'all keep? If you want to put any other questions in that chat, go ahead and put those in there. There's a couple of things I wrote down. I was trying to take notes. I wanted you to know that I was paying attention. But I was taking some notes because you said some things in there, Sean, and this is kind of what Sean does. He just starts talking, right? But when you've done what he's done in the manner that he's done it, and y'all keep in mind, if you didn't catch this, running the Ironman is hard. By the way, running a marathon in and of itself is hard. By the way, the Ironman is nearly impossible. When you do it with one lung, that's just insanity. The fact that he climbed these mountains, I mean, y'all watch that trailer. You got to watch the documentary if you've not seen that yet. When you watch the documentary, the art of being uncomfortable, I think Sean has mastered this art. And you said something. The state of surviving. When you live in a state of survival, that's no way to live, y'all. And so many of us get in this we get in this state of surviving. We're just trying to pay the bills. We're just trying to do this. We're just trying to do that. Sean, and correct me if I'm wrong. If you were in negative 38 degrees for 2 or 3 days, if you're in negative 40 degrees for 2 or 3 days, nothing around you, and I don't know if y'all caught this in the documentary, but the North Pole, if I'm not mistaken, you explained this to us before. It's on water, right? It's just ice on water, and you're just kind of walking around on an ice float.
Yeah, it's really interesting how the North Pole works. It's very different than the South Pole. The South Pole, when you get there, you're standing on 2 miles of ice on a continent, a bunch of land. But the North Pole, if you look at the world on a much smaller level, say it's a glass of ice, right? Ice water. The northern polar ice cap is the ice that's floating on top of the water. And what happens is you have currents flowing underneath the ice. And depending on the day and the conditions, one day we made, say, 8 miles north, set up camp, and the current of the water switched, and it pushed us backwards 5 miles. So when we woke up, we were literally 5 miles away from where we ended up the night before. And that's frustrating. But there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, the currents are definitely shifting. But having that mindset of lack and having that mindset of wealth and abundance is huge. Think about it for a second. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because who do you talk to more than anybody else throughout the day?
Ourselves.
A lot of people. Exactly. Now, how many times would you say that your self-talk is defeating and negative? Oh man, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do that. I don't know if I do. People are going to laugh at me. I really don't know about this, if I should do that. Constantly doubting yourself and questioning yourself over and over and over again. If you had a friend who was saying those negative things that you say to yourself, would you keep that person as a friend?
Right.
Gone.
No. Yep.
Why then if you wouldn't allow somebody else to do it, why do you do it to yourself? So when people are living in a state of survival, just paying the bills, you're constantly, the powerhouse of your mind is your subconscious, right? It doesn't judge you. It doesn't say things are good, things are bad, things are right, things are wrong. It just regurgitates back to you what you hear over and over and over again. And what you hear over and over and over again is what you constantly say to yourself. Or if you're constantly watching the news, or if you're constantly watching whatever it might be, whatever you're putting into your subconscious comes out 100-fold. So if you're sitting there living in a state of survival, living in a state of lack, constantly being afraid of this, fearful of that, what do you think is going to happen in your situation?
Y'all, and again, Sean, I thank you for saying that. And I'm sitting here and I'm hoping you guys are hearing these words, and I hope these words are in your spirit that resonate. There she is.
I can't stay quiet
She can't.
anymore.
Look, she
I
can't wait
literally
anymore. I gotta
cannot
get in
stay quiet
here.
anymore because I've literally got this. Good morning. I was trying to talk to you earlier, and I didn't want to add any weight or bearing or drag or whatever to the internet you were doing. But dude, I literally have this thing. I was like, God, I want him to talk about the North Pole. I want him to talk about the experience of. And I think I was like, my mind was like so going crazy about the fact that you were talking about the topic that I didn't even hear if you talked about the waking up and you went 8 miles and you woke up the next morning and said you were 5 miles behind, right? Because exactly what you're saying, y'all, this is so, it is crazy because a lot of people on here know my friend Kim, who went through cancer and pretty much was, kind of the same thing. Like if had it 4 years ago, if her cancer had been discovered, at the stage that it was, she would have passed away probably. But her mind, she kept focusing on what was ahead. Her focus was not on the cancer. Her focus was on the life when she got past the cancer. Her focus was on watching her grandson grow up. Her focus was on all the things that Sean's talking about. And it's the, we talk so many times about the storms of life that we go through that we don't ask for. I mean, this dude asked for these storms. So I'm just going to say that this whole going on these 7 continents and the 2 poles thing, but he didn't ask for the storm of cancer. But those storms, had we would have, and all of us say this, the storms that change us are not the storms that we sign up for. The storms that change us are the ones that life throws at us, that we choose how we respond to those storms. And one of the things that Sean talked about, because I mean, Aaron and I are super mentally connected, obviously, because he asked you the very question that I had written down to ask you, which was about the North Pole. But you talked on the call the other day with Ryan about focusing on that the summit is a byproduct of the journey.
I was just thinking that. The
summit is a byproduct of the journey. And Sean, will you talk about that a little bit about what you do on that coaching and kind of because you say it so much better, the conversation you had with Ryan about what y'all focus on that then you all of a sudden end up there. And I'm going to mute myself because I'll chime in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is kind of there. Looks like Teal had a similar question, looking at anything in the future. And that goes along with the question, the comment that you were saying, Christy, is every year I take a group up Kilimanjaro, which is the highest mountain in Africa. And it's a hike. I don't want to say it's a casual hike, like going in the Rocky Mountains where I live in Colorado, but it's a strenuous hike up to almost 19,500 feet. And looking at it, this will be my 24th trip up the mountain. And we do it as a fundraiser for cancer charity. So we pay for a survivor's trip, and then it's the responsibility of that survivor to raise funds for next year's survivor, paying it forward. Anyone can go, but it's an awesome and life-changing experience. I'll just leave it at that. But the average success rate on the mountain is 48%. And I can't even imagine people spending thousands and thousands of dollars to fail, quote unquote fail. And I was thinking, okay, well, the groups that I take up there, we're at 99% success rate. How is that possible? We're double the average success rate. And it took me a while to think about this. And I literally think it's because every other group on the mountain, every day, they're downtrodden, they're beaten up, they're looking up at the summit, putting their heads down, saying a couple of choice 4-letter words, looking back up at the peak, saying those choice 4-letter words again. They're miserable. They're not having a good time. And when we first get to Moshi, Tanzania, the base of Kilimanjaro, I run people through a personal core values assessment. We talk about what the summit means to them, why they're there on the mountain. And in all honesty, when we get up there, we celebrate. It's fun seeing people go through their, pardon my French, their oh shit moment to the summit. And they look at the mountain and they see the glaciers on top, and they look at me like, are those clouds? But the thing is, we're the only group on the mountain singing and dancing and having a great time and enjoying going from, it's 7 days up and down, going from this camp to the next camp, this camp to the next camp. It's not base camp to the summit the whole way up. It's this day, then this day, then this day, this step, then this step, then this step. And people always ask me. It's so funny. If anybody goes on this trip, I'll tell you right now, I don't tell them why I do this, but they catch on very quickly. Like, how much further? My answer is always, no matter how close we are, I always say 5 more minutes. Because if you can do 5 minutes, you can go 5 more.
Yep.
Break it down into micro chunks. So because we're the only group on the mountain having a good time, we're the only group on the mountain telling jokes, singing, dancing, having a blast. Christy, this is where it comes in. The summit becomes a byproduct of having fun. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm here. This is fantastic. Turn on the waterworks. Everybody gets emotional. But we are the only group on the mountain having fun. If you're not having fun and you're not enjoying it, life is too short to continue doing something that you don't enjoy.
Wow. I'm telling you
that there's so much power in that, y'all. I mean, because, and again, even just, I put a comment, and Sean, I don't know if you can see my comments or not, but we say this all the time. Your tribe matters. Your tribe matters. The people that you choose to do life with matters. We have a big change going on right now in our company. I had a conversation yesterday with one of our agents, and anytime, good or bad, whether it's what you want or whether it's what somebody else chooses for you, change is hard. Even when you know it's a good change, the anticipation of buying a house and the moving part, you got to embrace the suck of moving. But even just the not knowing where everything's at in the kitchen. I mean, I got so mad at Aaron the other day. He got me a new iPhone in December. And I think there was some mental strategy behind the psychological strategy behind getting it for me as a gift, because he thought, well, if I give it to her as a gift, she'll actually use it. Whereas if I just get it and she doesn't. So 3 months later, he finally activates it, and I'm ill all day long because I hate change. I mean, that's so the change of, even if it's a good change, it's hard, and people don't choose that. But who you choose to do it with makes it so much easier. And that is how we push through in everything. And that conversation yesterday with her, she said she went to crazy enough, it's her grandmother, who is a mentor to her. She is a life mentor to her. And she went to her grandmother and talked to her grandmother about this change and what should she do. And she said, you stay with your people. That's what you do. You can do business anywhere. You can't do business and life anywhere. You need your people. And if that's and Sean, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not, y'all, for the record, like if somebody come back and look at this date of whatever today's date is, if I actually end up on a hike on Kilimanjaro, that I swore I would, I'm saying now, never say never, because I think if you put your mind to it, you can do anything if you put your mind for the right reasons. If your focus is for the right reasons. Your focus when you started climbing those mountains was to give other people that are going through the same journey you went through and you survived hope. It's the green shirt. I mean, like in my marketing mind, I'm not even that big of a marketing person, but in my marketing mind, why there are not 34 million green shirts across all 7 continents that say, I don't normally look like this, but I'm on chemo. Why those are not all over the world, that should be like the be happy, what is it? The just smile or ish happens or whatever it was from the whenever Forrest Gump wiped his face on the shirt and it said, don't worry, be happy or whatever. I mean, that is so much power and all that. It's kind of like Sean, and I don't know if you told that, if you guys watched the documentary, and actually if you watch the Live Strong video, I was stalking Sean Swarner's videos of him the other night, and I found the Live Strong video, and that one goes into talking a little bit more about the green t-shirt. I mean, so powerful.
There's power in that, man. There's so much power.
All that shirt represented was however many fibers of cotton that had been dyed green, and a few letters put on the front by Sean's dad. All it represented was hope. That's what it represented. It represented. Sean, tell that story super quick. I don't know if you can still hear us or not. Tell the little story about the green t-shirt, if you will.
Yeah, as long as this isn't being recorded, I'm allowed to do that, because to answer your question, why there aren't 34 million green t-shirts around it is because, and this
it's being recorded, so don't say anything.
It's being recorded. It's being recorded. Hang tight.
So don't say it if you can't say it.
Okay. No,
Yeah. So
I can't because I'm contractually obligated. I'll just say this: I'm contractually obligated by a production company in Hollywood to not allow it to get out.
Gotcha.
All right.
The
But y'all
documentary.
go watch the Live Strong. Go watch the Live
Okay.
Strong. Find
Watch
that
the
Live
Livestrong
video.
video.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Watch the
I,
Livestrong
let me.
video. It's so cool.
I want to say a couple of things here because we're getting toward the end of this, and I want to make sure that I say this. There was something else that he said that I think is so powerful, y'all, because what you're hearing here, we all have oh shit moments. I'm telling you, we all have those oh shit moments. You can choose to walk away from the oh shit moment and go back down the mountain, or you can have that oh shit moment and keep walking, and you take another step, and you take another step, and you take another step. Because in this transition, I promise y'all, I've had oh shit moments. In this transition, as we move forward, there have been some oh shit. I'm not saying we're not in an oh shit moment now, but we're good. This is one thing I know, and I've learned this through 75 Hard is because Sean, the funny story is, I tried to do 75 Hard last year and I quit 4 times, and I finally decided to screw it. I'm not doing it because I consider myself not a runner. Right? I'm not a runner. God didn't build me to be a runner. He built me to like lift weights and be short and stocky, and that's kind of how he built me. I thought in my brain, and I talked myself out of running for so much. But one thing Sean said is one thing I have implemented now that I started running. Okay, I'll find something out there just in the short term, in the very near distance, and say I'm just going to make it to that pole. I'm going to make it to that tree. I've just got to make it to that trash can. And amazingly, when you make it to that trash can, you've got enough energy to make it another trash can. You have the energy to make it another pole. So guys, when those oh shit moments happen, when your brain starts to tell you you're done, that is a moment for your heart to engage and decide who you are and what you're going to be and how many more steps you're going to take toward that pole or that tree or that next phone call or that next door knock or that next thank you card you need to mail out. These things that he's saying, it kept him alive. I mean, he saw a guy slide down a mountain. He saw he saw where he was going and saw that someone had died at that same spot he was about to go to. Now, if that's not a no shit moment, I'm not sure what is. But he decided, I'm going to take one more step. I'm going to take one more step. And you said this, man, and this is so good. It's not the pain you feel, but it's how you choose to suffer. Because the one thing about life, I can guarantee you, you're going to have pain. That's what life does. Life presents you adversity. You're going to have hurt. You're going to be told no. You're going to have people that are going to walk out in your life. You're going to have people who you thought were loyal who are not going to be loyal. There are going to be things that are going to happen. They're going to cause us pain. If it's physical pain, if it's emotional pain, if it's mental pain, that is a given. That's going to happen. But it's not the pain you feel, but how you choose to suffer. And I'm telling you, when Sean says Mount Kilimanjaro is just a hike, I almost giggled out loud because I can assure you, the only person who thinks Mount Kilimanjaro is a hike is a dude who's climbed 7 mountains on 7 continents, run the Ironman, been to the North and South Poles. That's the only dude who thinks it's a hike, by the way.
Right.
The rest of us are like, dude, that's 19,000 feet.
But again, it's the how many times have you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro? How many times have you done
This will be 24.
When you've
Holy
done
crap.
something 24 times, when you've done it 24 times, it does become just a hike. It's no different. Like, and I wrote this down, y'all. This to me, I'm literally getting this, Sean, and I'm going to quote you on it. Not everyone will climb Mount Everest, but everyone has a Mount Everest. Sean Swarner, I'm quoting that. I'm hashtagging that. Is that okay if I quote you? So, but that might be just like he said. Y'all, that might be that first cold call. That might be the first listing appointment. It might be the first time you ever do something. That is your Mount Everest. The fact that somebody wants to throw up every time they walk out in front of a group of people and talk. Vic Keller talked about it. He gets nervous every single time he would stand up in front of somebody and talk. It's just part of it's the Mount Everest. So, but the oh shit moment Aaron just talked about and that Sean said, they're nothing more than waypoints, y'all. They're nothing more than forks in the road. When you get to that moment, it's a fork in the road. Which way do I go? How do I respond to it? So, right. I mean, you guys, it's 7:30. We've had him on here for an hour, y'all. We're not going to keep you any longer, but But y'all, I'm so thankful for everything. Teal had asked that question. I think you put it up there.
Yeah, let's do this, Sean. I want to, and I don't know what I'm gonna let you. If you want to drop any other bombs on us, or if you want to mention anything else, I'm happy to do that. To give you this time to kind of finish up, because I want to make sure that you get a chance to promote anything or I know. So I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I actually want to go back to what Christy said about somebody who's making, say, a cold call, or someone who's approaching somebody on the street they don't know, first sale, whatever it might be. When you're anxious, what is the physiological response that happens in your body? Maybe you get sweaty palms. You start to breathe through your upper respiratory system. You start to breathe a little more shallow. You start to get nauseous. All those symptoms that everybody knows. The physiological reaction you have in your body when you become anxious. Now, what is the physiological response when you get excited about something? You might get nauseous. You might have sweaty hands. Your upper respiratory, you might start breathing shallow. It's the same thing. Going back to how you deal with situations and talking about pain and suffering, you can also see that anxiety, if you train your brain properly, as excitement. So no longer will you be scared to do something. You are now excited. So when you get the sweaty palms, when you start breathing shallow breaths, stop, take a beat, be a little mindful of what's going on in your body physiologically, and realize, hey, maybe it's not really anxiety. Maybe I'm excited about this. You can change anxiety into excitement if you're mindful of it.
That's good.
That is so good. So good.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you for that word. So does anybody have anything else? Because I know it's, like I said, we want to be, and I heard the part you said about your grandma, or your wife's grandmother. I hope she's, we'll be lifting her in prayer, and hope everything turns out good with that, and hope you guys get a good report back from that. But I mean, thank you. That's really all I can say is just thank you. Thank you so much for sharing yourself with us and your time. And we'll, when we end this, let's stay on the stream for just a second to talk to Sean, just off camera. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have anything you want to say? We love you guys. Thank y'all for joining us this morning. The people that weren't here, man, they missed it. So
here's what I'm going to say. Thank you, Sean. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being open to this, and you being open to us, and now, just by the way, dude, you're a part of our life and you're a part of our tribe. So we don't let people out of our tribe very easily. So you're kind of stuck with us. So just kind of suck that up.
I hope that's okay.
Well, welcome to your new Mount Everest. Welcome to your new Mount Everest. So guys, I want y'all to really listen. I want you to take this video. I want you to watch this video again. I want you to watch this with a different heart. Anne Marie, they're so right. There's so many takeaways in this call this morning. There's nuggets. Christy's probably got a page of things that she's written down.
I have tons of notes written down. Yes.
But I want you guys to take this morning. I want you to take this video. I want you to share it with somebody who needs to hear it. There's somebody out there who needs a little bit of hope. There's somebody out there that needs something from this call this morning, that you can just share with them a little nugget of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Share it on your Facebook page. It's in your group. Spread this message. Okay. Because this message is powerful.
It'll be up later today. It'll be up later today. It'll be up later today. I'm going to do some editing. So
okay, good. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna leave it with you. Be good.
Be great.
Be you.
Love y'all.
Bye, y'all. Love y'all.
Sean, stay with us. All right. Bye.